Okay, so went ahead and I bought a piece of steel. Um, I made a knife handle a couple months ago, and I figured the logical progression from that would be to actually make a knife. So I went ahead and I got some O1 tool steel, and I'm going to go ahead and use that to make a knife. And I already opened this up, so this is what it looks like. It's just a chunk of steel. This is 3/16 wide and or I guess thick, and then 2 inches wide. And so next step is I'm going to go ahead and clean this and then draw a pattern on it, and we'll go from there. So here's the steel I got for making a knife. It's 18 inches long, so I figure I can get 2 knives out of it. One kind of like practice, figure out what works and what doesn't work, and then one to make a good knife, or well, hopefully the practice one will be good too, so we'll see. But anyway, I watch all these videos and read some blogs and whatnot, and people use this blue stuff so that they can trace out the patterns. And I didn't order the blue stuff, but I think I did a pretty good job replicating it. What this is I just took a blue Sharpie and just back and forth until I'd covered the whole area, and then I took a cotton ball with some alcohol and went back and forth to kind of like make it a more uniform blue. And then what I did was I made a knife pattern, cut it out of cardboard. This is I don't know, it's a pretty large blade, but it fits in my hand well, and you can see the back end sticks out a little bit, so that's kind of nice. And then what I did was I went ahead and I traced that out on the steel here, and I just laid the pattern down on the steel, and I got a nail and went around and I scratched it out, and you can kind of see, I don't know how clear it is, but there's the tip, and the blade kind of rolls down, comes up. Here's the back end, a little faint, but anyway, so that's the whole blade. And next step will be to cut out as close as I can along this edge all the way around. I'm going to use a hacksaw, so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so went ahead and cut my bar in half, and I actually have enough steel left over to make another knife at some point in the future. I'm using a hacksaw to cut this. Cutting this with a hacksaw is a serious bitch. I mean, this is fairly thick piece of steel, and it's taken a while to do. But I'm trying to avoid using power tools at this point, just to see how how hard it actually is. So I don't want to back out and get my grinder or something like that. So anyway, I'm just going to keep plugging along at this. Alright, so I've cut off the majority of the excess material, and now I have to start removing these small areas, like along this back edge here and right there. And then this here is actually a large area of material that has to be removed, but I didn't want to try to use a hacksaw on this. And I got about this far into cutting this length, and I just gave up and went ahead and got my grinder and took the rest of this off, because it was just a beast trying to cut through this. So anyway, next step's going to be to go ahead and start to file off excess material. it's starting to look like a knife now. These dark blue areas are what's left. So there's right along the edge here, and this indentation, and a little bit more off these back sides. This is this is taking forever using a hacksaw and a file, aside from the angle grinder that I used yesterday to take out the rest of this length, because it just got too hard to saw through. So I think at this point I'm going to switch over to a bench grinder to remove these areas, and I would be switching over a bench grinder eventually just to create the edge. So that's where we're at right now. Okay, so this is my final shape for the knife. You can see it's right across here. This blue line's where the handle is going to be, or where it's going to end, I guess. I'm not sure if I should just run it straight across or put a slight angle. I haven't decided on that yet. And then this little blue line is going to be where the blade actually starts, or where the knife edge actually starts. And it's just going to follow along the edge here. Kind of angled the backside here. Gives you a flat surface you can pound with at a couple different angles. And that's it so far. Next step is to just go ahead and cut that edge, and then start grinding down the blade. And I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to mark a center line on this. I've seen a lot of guys have these like special scribe things, so I don't know. I'll try to figure something out, I guess. This is the finished shape of my knife. I used a grinding wheel for the edge, and I'll definitely, if I decide to do this again in the future, I'll have to come up with a better process, because that was pretty hard, and I didn't have a jig of any sort, so it's kind of like free-handed, this whole thing. But it's got a decent shape to it. And so the next step will be I have to temper the steel, and then I have to put on a handle. So those will be the next two steps that I go through.